Good morning, Sports Insanity Network fans. It's Mark Halpern along with Mike Rifkin and Dan Ryans here for this morning's Batters Up. Before we get started into our sports show, from me and the entire network, we send out our prayers and hopes for the people who have been involved in every earthquake that has been going around this world, especially in Ecuador right even with all the turmoil that is going on in the world, every country in the world is sending help to the country of Venezuela and what has been going on. Us at the network just want to say we wish everybody prayers and more people are being found day by day. It just goes to show you the world is empathetic. Time to end rhetoric. Now it's time to talk about
Well,
why
well,
we're
well,
here.
before I say that, I'm very grateful to live in a state where it has one of the best, if not the best, arguably, emergency task forces on the planet in Virginia Task Force One. These emergency relief, emergency responders coming in and helping and search, rescue, hopefully search, rescue. A lot of these are search and recoveries, which is just rough to watch. I'm just very grateful that I live in a state in Virginia where that also exists. So I just wanted to point that out, Mark. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off.
No, no, no. This has been a tragedy, not just to Venezuela. The entire world is at a point of shaking. I think it's time that we all take a look, and I'm not just saying the three of us here. I'm saying the world. The world is saying something. Let's reset the rhetoric and get back on track with real peaceful life. Let's go now to what we're here to talk about. I thank you all for listening to that little bit, but we do have our hearts sent out to the people who are affected by this. Now, not to say that Mike Rifkin doesn't share our sentiments, but we're going to kick it over to him to get us ready for today's Batters Up episode. Mike?
First of all, shout out We Are the World. But yeah, thoughts and prayers to Venezuela. Also, France. I don't know if you guys have
Yeah,
seen France. Like that heat wave is
The massive heat
insane.
wave,
yeah, and
Oof.
talk about the
like,
fire burning out in Utah that is now
mhm,
affecting 6 states.
mhm.
Oh,
Be careful out there, folks. You know,
Please.
be safe.
that, but especially, and luckily that heat dome didn't travel to the States because,
Oh, God.
oh my God, and we're gonna get our little dome soon this coming week. I'm seeing 90s and 100-degree weather. It's like that, not good.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal for a couple of days here, man. All right, welcome into Batters Up, sponsored by the Dig Out Millwood here on the network, as Mark mentioned himself. Dan, Mike, with you, gentlemen. Good morning. As we are at the end of the month of June. Time flies when you're having fun.
If you're a Yankees fan.
I don't know about that. Bill Murphy's Red Sox have been putting it to him this weekend.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the All Star Game voting that's going on. We have another managerial firing we will definitely talk about. And we got some more CBA news, and that's where we're going to start. This is per Jesse Rogers of ESPN. Uh, MLB is proposing the following in the next CBA while they continue their negotiations: a max contract length of 5 years for free agents, switching teams. So if you want to retain your player, it's 6 years. But if you want to leave, it's five. So no more of those 10, 15-year contracts. No deferred contracts, which is something we will definitely be discussing in a second. No more qualifying offers. So
That's huge.
that is also huge. And 5 years to free agency for players 30 or older. So those are things MLB is looking into. Um, I the players sent out a statement as well. They're not for a lot of this, but I'm not going to read their statement. I want to center this around MLB because I got to be honest with you guys. I don't have a problem with any of the things here the owners are looking at doing.
You know, I don't remember if it was me, I sent it to you, or I sent it to Patch, this whole breakdown. When I read this isn't unreasonable. This this puts an end to the Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Shohei
Mm,
Ohtani type contracts. Those 10-year contracts are done. Fernando Tatis, they'll be grandfathered in, because you can't just say, oh, nope, 6 years you're out. No, they'll be grandfathered in.
mm.
But none of these steps, the deferred money, that just has to happen. And if you're not going to do that, then I say MLB needs to have a salary cap automatically. If you're not going to agree on the deferred money, at least. Because, Mike, if I am not correct, Shohei Ohtani gets what, 2 million a year, and the rest is deferred for the next 50 years?
It's 2 million per year. Everything else is in deferred one. Yeah.
Okay. It's ridiculous. Dan, your take.
I'm not in love with the 5 year maximum. Like if you have a certain amount of service time, you can only get a 5 year contract. I'm not in love with that, but I do agree with Major League Baseball that there has to be like a hard like cap as to where like how long you could sign somebody to a contract. Because and right now the Yankees are experiencing this with Giancarlo Stanton. These massive 10-year, 13-year, 15-year contracts are like the death of so many baseball teams. Not
Forgot about
necess
Stanton.
not necessarily because of production. Like, of course, Giancarlo Stanton, for the most part, has been a very productive Yankee. But I mean, he is always hurt. Like you just saw how he just got hurt doing nothing while rehabbing his calf injury. And yet we're stuck with him. It's a contract that nobody wants to take on. So, I mean, like if 5 years is where they land at, I guess I would say no more than seven. Like give teams time to actually develop and work things out, build championships, all that stuff. 5 years is not a lot of time, especially if you're new to a team. So I would say extended by 2 years, maybe like 7 years. I think that's a fairly reasonable timeline. But yeah, we can no longer have these 15-year contracts, like it's over. It's over with that crap. So work in progress. It's not perfect. I think baseball needs to go back to the drawing board. I'm not in love with the entirety of this proposal, but it's a good starting point, and you still have the guaranteed money too. It keeps that guaranteed money, and it's not like there's like this whole salary cap, salary floor, all that stuff. If they because clearly the players don't want that, so at least they're trying to find something that is somewhat reasonable, Mike.
Yeah. Look, I think the two big things, there's three big things here. Dan hit on maybe 5 years is a little too small of a number. Maybe they go to seven, which is fine, which means if you can retain a player, it's eight. That's what the
Yeah.
NHL is doing, which is fine with me. the deferred money is massive because
Oh my
that's been the
God.
loophole the Dodgers used for Shohei Ohtani.
Absurd. And
And
everybody.
right, and now everybody's kind of using that.
Shout
While
out Bobby Bonilla.
Hmm. Edwin
well,
Edwin
I mean, he
Diaz.
gets paid on Wednesday. He'll be
Yeah.
happy. Checks in the mail.
That's where I said
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Checks in the
And,
mail, Bobby.
and Edwin Diaz eventually with 2 teams.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. So no more of that loophole of the deferred money. That is massive here. And then the other thing I like is the no qualifying offer. So if you don't know what the qualifying offer is when you're a free agent, a team can put the qualifying offer on the player, which means they get a compensation draft pick from the other team because you left. But we've seen guys who get attached to the qualifying offer, they're sitting there out until almost ready for spring training.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you do away with the qualifying offer, guys aren't sitting out until spring training. They're signed by Christmas or New Year's and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they're ready to go. They're not out of shape or anything. I think that's also a big piece here.
That's gonna be. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean
No,
that.
go for it. Go for it.
That
Nothing
one. I'll be very quick. That one part has to be a standing point and cannot be put out. That has to be there.
And listen, I know they're the players. They're not going to go for some of this. Like you know, they're probably not in on the contract lengths, which again I think should be a negotiable tactic. If they want to go to 7 years, like Dan said, uh, but these 10 to 15 year deals, they don't work. They don't work for the owners. It works for the player. It doesn't work for the owner. Those contracts never age well, almost. So I think both sides, as we approach this next set of negotiation, whatever that'll be, they have to realize, like, in the battle of billionaires versus millionaires, which it is, the people who lose out are us, the fans.
And that was the fear that we're talking about because next year, if there is one, we're going to use Mike and Dan's and my most fearful word, lockout. I don't want to see this happen again. Been through it twice. It almost killed the sport I grew up and still love playing and teaching.
Yeah,
And Mark,
Mark, you've seen 2 lockouts, like real lockouts, where
Yep.
it impacted a season. You know, I've seen a lockout, but it didn't impact the season. You know, that's the thing that I'm afraid of, Mike. Like, I don't want baseball to go away.
here's the thing about baseball. Now is a time where they can ill afford a lockout. Because think about this. Think of the amount, not just of young talent baseball has right now, but think of the international talent and the international influence baseball has across the world. Guess what? If there's a lockout, is Shohei Ohtani going to go play in Japan for another year?
Funny enough, Mike, that you say that. Because wouldn't it be an FU to MLB America that in the Dominican Republic, Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto are on the same team playing, down there, but not in New York. And to get in, ticket prices are $1.
Yeah, I understand the negotiations have to be in good faith for both sides. But I think there has to be a point where, for the players, you can't get too greedy, and for the owners, let's be honest, for a bunch of you, you can't be too cheap. So there has to be that happy medium to where at the end of the day, normal Joes like us are able to A, afford to go to ball games, but B, also don't lose the sport we love based on this stupidity. As somebody who, Mark, you witnessed the lockout in baseball. I've witnessed one in hockey. Like,
Right.
there has to be an end all be all where we sit down and the owners can go, look, this is what we're looking for. And the players go, okay, forget the 5 years length on free agents, give us 7. Like Dan said, 8 if you're going to retain the player.
Fair fair movement by Dan's point.
Right. All right. Forget deferred money, fine, off the books. The qualifying offer, we agree because we don't want guys sitting out till spring training. And now, what's the concession the owner makes? What's the concessions the owners are going to have to make to the players? So, I don't think this negotiation is. Let's be honest, it's not going to be good because I
No.
don't trust either one. I don't trust either side at this point.
Yeah. Like what are the owners willing to concede?
Right.
Like because they have to do something.
Yes.
Like if you're asking the players not to have these legacy 10-year contracts, 10 plus year contracts worth, three
And
quarters of $1 billion, you know, if you're gonna say that if you tend to tell players that you can't have that, okay, well, what are you willing to give up so that they can do that?
that's the interesting question. What are the owners willing to give up? What are the
And
players going to ask for? Go ahead, Mark.
I was just about to say, just quickly, like you just said, what are the owners willing to give up? That's one side. It also becomes what are the players willing to give up? There has to be a happy medium, but both sides have to give in. The players have to understand they're not going to win every little point they want. And some of them that have been read out are ridiculous. I mean, I won't even bring them up. However, there's a ton that are not unreasonable.
I think that list that MLB put out isn't unreasonable. Now, I will say this. We talked the last time when we talked about this, the cap versus the floor. I think baseball has to at least install a floor, even if the players don't want a cap.
A
MLB's
floor, I
got to
think
get a
it's the best
floor.
thing.
So let's just say they don't go with the salary floor.
Mhm.
Are they willing to take part of the players' proposal and not do a floor, but to raise the luxury tax?
I think that's a good question.
You
I think
know,
the I'll answer your question with another question. I think the question would be then, can some of these small market owners be willing to get, maybe not to the luxury tax, but if they can get just below that, is that a
And
possibility?
only if revenue sharing comes into play bigger time than it is. Let's face it, the Miami Marlins, the I'm not going to say Kansas City because they've been signing. I'm going to take the Miami Marlins because they don't spend money. They develop. There's no two questions in my
Yep.
I'll ever say. They develop their players and they use it. They'll bring in a $5-6 million guy. The Miami Marlins draw as many people as the Tampa Bay Rays do. And the Tampa Bay Rays are throwing still horribly in there in first place. They call Tampa Bay a small market team. They're not. But there has to be a number. Either revenue sharing has to be bigger for the smaller teams. Say one quarter of the teams gets a little bit more money than the higher echelon. Make it a tier level. This tier level of teams gets this much, and then so on. Teams like the Yankees, Mets, the ones who draw and hit that luxury tax get a little bit less of the sharing because they don't need it. No offense.
Steve Cohn, if you're listening, you don't need it.
What type of? I mean, they did bring the players did bring up revenue sharing, which they're not opposed to. Um, I think the having all the local broadcast money go to every team is
Yes.
it's very interesting because at the very least, you're not forcing teams to form their own broadcast networks. Obviously, Major League Baseball has this local media sector where they're providing production for teams. So it's there. It's tough, man. This is gonna be a real tough negotiation. What are the players willing to concede? What are the owners going to concede? Because there's a give and take that has to come from both.
I want to be a fly on the wall in the beginning of those conversations.
God damn.
I would love to hear the back and forth, but we'll only hear the small points at the end, Mike.
I think one thing that's going to be interesting, and Mark, you kind of hit on it. When we talk about these small market owners having to spend something, what's their number? What's the number? Like you brought up the Marlins. By the way, the Marlins have the best record of baseball in June. Still, if the ballpark filled up, not really. But anyway,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
if you're unwilling to spend to a certain number, I think the question then becomes: do you want to own a baseball team, or are you just here for giggles? Like John Fisher and the A's. I don't want to hear you're waiting until Vegas to sign free agents. You know,
I saw that quote.
you know. So I think that's another thing that's going to be a part of this negotiation.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of owners, aren't you glad that the Penner Group is investing in the Rockies? Like,
That's gonna be huge.
it's only 40%, which I'm assuming they're going after majority stake. I mean, they'd be crazy not to. They
They
already
would
own
have to. They would have to be.
they already own a team in town in football. Why not own the baseball team too and try to bring billions of dollars of more money that they could access and invest.
And can you imagine a Colorado Rockies team? That's a real team. None of the. I mean, look, not to take anything away from them, they've actually played decent ball this year. But can you imagine having an owner who's aggressive and going after an Aaron Judge or something of that caliber? Because as it says in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. You build a team around a couple of guys, fans are gonna come and want to see it. And when fans come and see it and then revenues are bigger, then players migrate. It's all a symbiotic circle. That's how it works.
Chris Bryant would have started a trend.
7-1-87. Oh my God.
Uh, uh, so we'll see what happens with the next CBA negotiations. I don't know when they're next scheduled to meet, so I presume around the All Star break,
Sounds right.
which is about 2 weeks away or so. But something else the MLBPA is looking into is proposing a ban on prop bets on individual players. What in the Brendan Sorsby's going on here? This article from Jeff Passett and David Purdom of ESPN. The Major League Baseball Players Association on Thursday proposed a ban on prop betting on individual players to help combat harassment from disgruntled gamblers, a union source told ESPN. During CBA negotiations with Major League Baseball, the PA suggested a joint lobbying effort with the league to pursue a prohibition on prop betting at sports books and with daily fantasy operators. Event contracts at prediction markets that are centered on individual player performance also would be prohibited, according to the source. The ban would include all prop bets on individual players placed before or during a game, include popular offerings such as the odds for a player to hit a home run. And MLB officials said the league would respond to the union's proposal during negotiations. In addition, the PA asked the league to clarify that players may engage in endorsements and sponsorships from legal betting operators, including prediction markets. The current CBA prohibits players from authorizing the use of their name, uniform number, image, or likeness to quote advertise, promote, or encourage betting on for or against any baseball game or event. There's more here, but let's just dive into that. Mark, I know you are the one who does a lot of the sports gambling stuff. Your thoughts here?
I'm a fucking degenerate. I'm sorry. I'm gonna drop the bomb before Dan does this time.
Generation.
No, I'm not gonna. In the group, I next to one other who I will not mention, I am the one who does a lot of sports betting. Prop bets, I understand the reasoning. I kind of get it, you know. But then how are you going to be as a gambler's perspective, not as a fan perspective? How the hell are you going to gear on anything on bets for a game? So let's just make it easy. Uh, Jacob Mizorowski is going to start game one of the World Series against the New York Yankees and no prop bets. No, he's not going to strike out at least six. Aaron Judge is going to hit a home run. You can't take away prop bets. Prop bets are what they are. They're before the game. Nobody can control what happens in the game unless everybody is in on it. So if you want to take out the live action part of betting, where we saw players, God, two of them were caught, Emmanuel Classe and one other who I cannot remember, were
Another
caught.
pitcher.
Yeah, I just can't remember his name right now. Were caught during live betting what the next pitch was going to be, and they knew they had to throw a ball. You want to erase that? I'm okay with it. Taking away prop bets takes away strategy. I'm not gonna. I look before a game if I'm gonna make a bet. I look at ESPN's breakdown of what this batter has done against this pitcher over time. I don't just go in and you need information. Take away prop bets. You're gonna gambling sites are going to revolt in their own way. It won't happen. I understand it to prevent possible problems, but let me tell you something. Hitting a home run today in a regular ballpark, not at Dodgers to the right, not at Yankee, not hitting it out of a real ballpark that is 350, 360. You can't guarantee that, even if you get a pitch right down the middle. You can't take away prop bets. I'm sorry.
So just to go deeper, the union also proposed adjustments to how sports betting investigations are handled and the process for players returning from gambling punishments, the source said. Under the PA proposal, players who are subject to betting investigations would be put on administrative leave The union asked that players punished for sports betting violations be allowed to go on a 15-day unpaid rehab assignment in the minor leagues near the end of their suspensions. And then going back into your conversation on prop bets. Two typical prop bets include wagers on statistical performances, such as the over under on the number of strikeouts of a pitcher's record records, or the over under on number of hits a batter gets during the game. Prop bets can account for upward of 20%, 30% of the total amount wagered on a game, according to multiple sports book sources. So that's something else they're looking at into. Then they go into the Guardian, what happened with the Guardians and what's going on with the NCAA.
Yeah, and look, the whole gambling world. I'm with Mark. The whole gambling world's gonna riot over that. Riot. But you're trying to protect the integrity of the game. You're trying to protect uh competition and all that stuff. Like you gotta have something that is in place to protect that. It's not a tough ask to want to have
See,
that.
if there were to be a compromise made, and this is so far fetched, it's so well out of left field, a compromise between all sports books to keep prop bets, the MLBPA gets 10% of total wagered on that day, meaning it's split amongst the players. So if there's 50 million plays, God help me if there is that, 5 million goes to the MLBPA for prop bets. You want to make a deal? Compromise a deal that both get it, but you can't take away prop bets.
Look, it's a moneymaker. It's a massive
It is.
moneymaker.
Look, I don't bet on hockey for reasons why is because I don't understand the sport. This guy up here is the reason I bet on hockey because he's an hockey information machine. And he said Carolina was going to win. I didn't go by what the guys were going to talk about on ESPN. I trusted Mike. I didn't bet millions of dollars, but that was like a prop bet to me. Mike had said the Canes are going to win. I know it. To me, that's good enough. I didn't bet millions of dollars or anything. I'm just saying.
Here's the other problem with it's not just baseball, it's all these leagues are in bed with these these sports books. You watch a ball game now, two of how many ever commercials in between innings you get or whatever. I got a DraftKings, I got a BetMGM, I got, it's just like, hey, I want to watch the ball game. I don't do the sports book stuff. I don't know it that well. But
Yeah.
Mark will text me, hey, what do you think of this? And I'll, oh, that looks pretty good. Okay. Here's one change. But here's the thing I would say, too. I think this is the way, I think this is one in the wake of what's going on, what happened with the Guardians and Emmanuel Clase. I think another one is the Brendan Sorsby Act from Texas Tech, and we see how now the NFL and NCAA are both handling that.
CFL as well. The CFL just came out and said
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that this dude's gonna have to sit out an entire year and then go through the draft process.
What's his draft process gonna be
That's
like?
rough.
That's going to be a story that will be in depth on the network.
Watch out, Jets.
But another thing was that wasn't there a guy on the Raptors about a year or two ago who bet on himself and he would intentionally take himself out of games.
Oh God!
And now he's
Dan
out of
and
the
I
NBA.
talked all about
we
this.
were all over it on 6 Man Up.
And his name is like escaping me.
It was like Porter something. Porter. I
No,
want.
it's not. I almost said Terry Porter, but that's incorrect. It's
That is
not.
not Terry Porter.
No,
It's not
no.
even Joey Porter. But
Right.
the thing is that I think what the players are saying here is, listen, if we're going to concede on some of, and this goes back to the CBA, if the players are going to concede on some of the things MLB's asked for, the 5 years,
John Tay
John
Porter.
John T.
like
Porter, yeah.
John Tay Porter. I feel better now.
if the players are going to go into that and say, okay, we'll take that, but now you have to take what you're doing with the sports books and kind of make an adjustment here for us. I don't think, Mark, they're saying take away the prop bets for individuals, but maybe don't let them be able to do it at the ballpark.
No, I think all prop bets have to end an hour before game time.
Yeah.
That would be another conclusion, because Mike, you just made a great point. You go to the game, and let's say whoever Garrett Cole's is set to have 6 strikeouts. He strikes out the first guy. I'm running to that sports book to say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take the over on 6." Has to be done an hour before, and then all prop bets close. That would be an interesting proposal for all those at all the sports books who are watching, who are not sponsors. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, I think you have to shut those down once the game starts. No more bets, no more bets.
Well, you can bet on win or lose, over and under, but yeah, no more prop, no more.
Okay.
He's got 2 hits already. Oh, I'm gonna now get in there and say he's gonna get a third. No, prop bets end either at pitch or 1 hour before.
The biggest issue here is the fact that you have Major League Baseball suspending players for the prop bets because they're betting on themselves or against themselves, whichever way they want to do it, right? You're having them suspended, but then you're encouraging the gambling because you're accepting the gambling money from advertisers and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So that's sort of where you know, that's the conflict right there. That the player association is rightfully pointing out. It's like, you know, look, again, you can't tell gambling companies what to do. But is there a fair way of trying to make sure is as restricted as possible so that our players don't get in trouble? Because it's out there. People are going to gamble. Athletes do it all the
Exactly.
time in other sports, obviously, for other sports. But, they're that's the reality of the situation.
I mean, before it was made legal, people were still doing it. Dan also and Mike also hit on a thing. Las Vegas is about to have an explosion in the baseball market because the A's are coming in, and
They got a
Dan,
nice taste
I
this
believe
summer.
both of them said it. For Las Vegas to have a baseball team and now has a hockey team.
They're going to get a basketball team.
Thank you. I was just about to say that they're gonna get a basketball team. And then
They have the Raiders.
you have the Raiders. Las Vegas, New York, California, Texas, Florida are no longer the draw points for sports. Now it's going to shift to Nevada, because not only can you literally go to the game and stay at your hotel for a decent price, because all the hotels have game packages for whatever's going on. If you look now, they're all setting them up. What are the other states, meaning teams? Yankees, Mets. Well, let's forget about Florida. Rangers, Astros, Dodgers, Angels. Leave the other team out. Don't care about them. How are they going to combat this? Well, Steve Cohen's building a $6 billion park, which will have a hotel like the Toronto Blue Jays that
Mm.
overlooks the park and you can get a room and sit out on your balcony and watch the game. That's an attraction getter. Not every owner is a Steve Cohen. The problem becomes is your destination is no longer going to be a destination. And this is going to be great for a pod coming up, and we're going to end this here because we're going off track because of me. I'm just saying, we're about to see a very big, huge increase in sports as a wide. You can't afford a lockout now.
Yeah, so
Sorry for the tangent. I apologize.
no. It's a good lesson just based on if you don't know what's going on when it comes to gambling. And so we'll see what happens there with as the PA looks to at least adjust the gambling. But I like, Dan, your point about the suspensions because also what's going to determine a suspension? Because remember in the NFL, the rule is you can't gamble in the team facility. That was something that happened to the Lions receiver Jameson Williams a couple of years ago. He wasn't betting on the NFL. He was betting on college sports, but he was in the team facility, which they basically prohibited.
And that's another tricky situation. Look, I agree. You can't bet on yourself. I mean, Pete Rose set the standard. No offense.
Calvin Ridley, shout out to you.
Calvin Ridley, yeah, before we forget about him. If the players should not be allowed to bet on their own sport. But in the team facility, they have to be out of it, fine. They should not be allowed to bet on their sport. Okay, you tell an NFL player, fine. His next door neighbor, you tell him, hey, I'm going to have 5 receptions, bet on it. Let's do a 80-20 split. You get 80, I get 20. And I'll front the money. It's not going to stop it, guys.
Yeah. So, again, we'll see what happens. We do have some other stuff to get into. We have a couple firings to discuss. The Angels fired general manager Perry Minasian the other night, and the Mets fired manager Carlos Mendoza. Mark, I know you wanted to. I know you wanted to save this for something with us.
Let's go for it.
Let's just get in.
Let's just get it over with. Look, Carlos Mendoza should not have been the manager this year. I'm trying to find, I want the right words to say it. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I'm saying he's the wrong manager for this team. With all the turmoil that went on after the season ended, and certain players not coming back, we've mentioned them so many times, Mendoza should have been looked at as the reason. I don't want to hear, Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor on one side of the locker room. I don't care. Yeah, there needs to be harmony and good vibes in the locker room. But that's only going to happen if you're winning. If you're struggling, no. There shouldn't be good times. In Moneyball, when Brad Pitt grabs the bat and goes into the locker room, that was a real moment that Billy Beane had. I don't want to hear you celebrating you're in last place. You take out the top. Now, this poor guy, Andy Green, is filling in the rhetoric. He's already said the moment the Mets get somebody, he's going back to what he was. He doesn't want this job. However, as I sent to Mike, there is somebody who does. And right now, I give him the shot, and that's Albert Pujols. He wants to manage. What is the harm? Bring him in. He does a good job. You keep him.
Well, no Beltran. You want Carlos Beltran?
Not at halfway through the season. If you want Pujols, give him a shot. It'll not only give the fans a little bit of something, it's going to change the rhetoric in the locker room. And then, you say, look, we're bringing on for the year. I believe Beltran is the future manager of this Mets team, just not right now.
Right now, if he's going to be the future, why not? Why not now?
Because he's currently dealing with the future of the Mets down in the Dominican Republic. He's doing player development down there and doing a great job, from what I understand.
I agree.
However, I do agree he will be the manager of the New York Mets, but don't bring him in on a halfway season because he's going to get ripped apart when they lose, and that's not what they want. Bring him if you're going to do anything, you start him next season. If that's the way you want to go. But as what he's doing for player development, no. Right now I like him where he is. If you don't want to give Pujols a shot, find somebody because it's obvious that Andy Green doesn't want it. You need to bring in a guy who's going to get the locker room's attention. I don't care if Juan Soto's making $76 million a year. You listen, little boy. You're having a great season. You just got Lindor back. I'm not saying they're going to win the NL East, but they now have players back in the position. Get somebody in there who understands baseball for the next 80 games. Let this be Mr. 3000. We can make third place. I'd be very happy with a wild card spot too, but I'd be happy with third place from where we are now. Mike?
Carlos Mendoza became a fall guy because what happened to Carlos Mendoza wasn't Carlos Mendoza's fault. What happened to Carlos Mendoza was the fault of David Stearns. It was also the fault of certain players. Players are not to be non-reprimanded, but they're going to get reprimanded here.
Yeah.
But this was David Stearns put together this roster. It ain't Carlos Mendoza's fault Kodai Senga can't go an inning without giving up a home run. It ain't Carlos Mendoza's fault Mark Vientos could barely hit a beach ball. It's not Carlos Mendoza's fault that the most important player on his team from last year is gone. It was all David Stearns. And Mark and Dan, I'm sure Dan, you've paid some attention to what's going on with the Mets. The thing that bothers me the most, not even about Carlos Mendoza, because I don't even think he made the lineup. I think he has ABS, Aaron Boone syndrome, where he's not making the lineup. It's really Cashman. And I think for the Mets, it's really David Stearns. But the thing that bothers me the most is the freaking guys playing out of position. I don't need to see Brett Beatty at second base or right field. Brett Beatty's a third baseman. How would you play him at third base? Oh, well then what do you do with Bo Bichette? Well, kick Bo Bichette to second. He's played the position. Oh, but you got Marcus Semien. Well, Marcus Semien hasn't hit all year, and I'm expecting him to get hot now. The frustration of this team, and then they lack so many things. I mean, to make 6 errors in a freaking ball game. I'm Mark, Troy's T-ball team could play better defense.
Shout out to Luca and Johnny. Look, my son's great, but we got to call out some other. These two kids could definitely feel better than what's going on with the Mets.
It's all about the fundamentals and mechanics.
Yep.
When I sit here and tell you the 2 best things of the Mets season, I'm going to put Soto to the side because we know Juan Soto's an MVP generational player. The second and third best players on the New York Mets this year have been Carson Bench and AJ Ewing. And by the way, if it weren't for the New York freaking Knicks, the Mendoza firing would have happened weeks ago. And let me be perfectly honest when I say this, because I said before I don't think he deserved to be fired. They would have been better off firing him weeks ago.
That's all for saying it, Mike.
I, this would be my message to you, Mr. Stearns. And I know you're listening, David. Because I know there's been people who've called out Steve Cohen on certain things. There have been certain things said. This message is for one David Stearns. If this is too big of a job or too big of a market for you, there's the door. Don't let it hit your ass on the way out. I am going to be the nice person. I will give you one more year. And that's being generous because let me be honest with you. I want to pull the football from you like Lucy does Charlie Brown. I don't care who the manager is for the rest of the year. If it's Andy Green, Albert Pujols, Terry Collins, the ghost of Yogi Berra. You can hire whoever you want to be the manager next year, whether it's, again, Pujols, Beltran, Alex Cora. Don't care. There's names on this team that I don't want to see next year. And you better hit on something because you haven't hit on a damn thing since you became the general manager. And I don't even give you Soto because the only reason Juan Soto's a New York Met is because Steve Cohen wrote the check.
Well, Steve Cohen said, all you want is a suite? Fine. It's a $20 million, it's a $25 million investment to get horrifically the number one ball player in baseball. Again, this is not a diss at anybody. This is my opinion.
2 years ago, this team went on a run. It was magic. It was almost as good as what the Knicks just did.
Yeah.
They lost in the conference finals, basically. The Mets, not the Knicks.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's review David Stern's some of the moves that have been made. Well, he re-signed Sean and I. That just straight up hasn't worked. Again, Soto, and I'm not even going to give you credit for. Look, let's fast forward to this offseason. Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien. How's that one played out? I mean, Brandon Nimmo tried to kill his former teammate Seth Lugo, but that's a whole nother conversation. Oh, well, we could let Pete Alonso walk and we could bring in Jorge Polanco and Vientos and they could play first base. Pete Alonso's got 19 jacks. Jorge Polanco
is now just starting a rehab
He's
assignment.
restarting a rehab assignment, which means we're going to see. He's basically Dominican Jed Lowry at this point.
Nice.
Mark Vientos, I'm absolutely done with. I can't take it anymore with Vientos. So what else you got for me, David Stearns? Oh, we let Edwin Diaz walk for Devin Williams. Well, Bone Spurs and Edwin Diaz elbows say thank you very much.
Look, when David Stearns became the general manager of the Mets, Mike and I are not going to lie that we were excited. Because, look, what did we have before that? Nobody incompetent, but just not the go-getter. I thought David Stearns was going to change this Mets team. If he's tried to, I haven't seen it.
I'll give him this. The minor leagues.
That's fine. That I'll agree with you.
But you're not in Milwaukee anymore. So to quote the great Wizard of Oz, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
I understand. Look, Pete left, and that was probably the biggest, and I'm calling it a problem. Pete left, and you replace it 2 weeks later with Jorge Polanco. That was a desperation move. You had plenty of time to get a first baseman. The only thing you can't be buyers at this deadline where the Mets are now. Currently, if I memory serves right, they're now 8 out of a wild card spot. 9. just make it even worse.
Let
That's
me double check, but I'm pretty sure.
that. That's in and of itself a monumentous hill to climb. Has it been done before by a few teams? I'm not going to say it can't be done, but not what the Mets have. The Mets cannot be buyers. There's no reason for them to be. If I'm the Mets, I finish out the year with what I have. You got to see AJ Ewing, what he can do. Does he get a spot on the major league roster next year? He definitely gets the opportunity. Carson Bench, what a rookie he's turned out to be. I don't think he'll win rookie of the year, but you got an outfield with Soto. Okay. Now you got to take care of that infield. First base and third base have to be solved. Bichette's gone after this year. He's made it known. Shop Bichette now. See if you can get anything.
Yeah, 9.
9 games. Shop Bichette. See if you can get anything for him. I'm sure Bichette wouldn't mind going to the Yankees. I mean, Dan, I'm just saying that as a thing. If he has a chance to go get a ring on his finger, he's gonna say sure. And if it was the Yankees, I know Dan would take him too because he can play a position
Mm,
that the Yankees
yeah,
currently need.
totally.
Normally, you don't supply your crosstown rival with an elite player, but
Well, it happens more often than you think. Yeah.
right. No, I know that, but I'm just saying it's time for the Mets to just play. I would get rid of Bichette, who's just been negative now that he says, oh, every day. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to be here next year. Get rid of him. Shop him. Sell him. I don't care. Like Mike said, put a cartoon in the spot. Do better. Get a guy with another mid who just made some cookies. He'll do fine. Give me a woman. Give me the best woman softball player. And let's put her there. She could do it. I don't care. Play baseball, finish up, and sit down and figure out how to rebuild this team and fast. Sorry, I apologize if at any time I said something inappropriate. It was not meant to be. And if anybody took it offensively, I do apologize.
Offensive one.
Listen,
I get it. I get it.
at the end of the day, you have to give us a reason. You have to give us a reason to watch. You have to give us a reason to believe. Now, Mark and I'm going to insult you, Mark, so be prepared on this. I'm
Please.
insulting myself as well. Mark and I are stupid.
As stupid as stupid does.
We don't need to be convinced to watch this pathetic display of whatever it is the Mets do. At this point, I'm pretty sure the Mets think they're playing in the same league as the Savannah Bananas. They're just not as entertaining.
Shout out to Savannah Bananas.
I don't care if it's David Stearns. I don't care if it's Mark. I don't care if it's me. I don't care if it's some guy outside of City Field trying to scalp some tickets. The Mets for the bulk of the first half have been unwatchable.
And the front office, they're cowards.
Yep.
And I think that's the right word because they're trying to. I think Dan hit it. And it's not the players. The players are not cowards. They're standing up there at 100-mile-an-hour
Yeah,
fastball.
they got to take the brunt.
Right.
You know?
The front office, Dan said it right, is hiding behind the bad play. They're using the bad play to exempt themselves and continue. Great,
I,
great word.
I'm sorry, you can't be David Stearns. Tell the media, oh hey, we're not gonna fire Mendoza. That's not a thing. And then fire him, and then be like, hey, look, it's business as usual. We're trying to move on here. It starts with you, buddy. you're the one that assembled this team. Now, was Carlos Mendoza a great manager? We could argue that. That's a different conversation.
Yep.
We could argue that. The reality of the situation is just like so many of the modern baseball teams, you hired Mendoza as a spokesperson. He's a good baseball mind, but he's a spokesperson. He's a puppet for the operation that you built, David Stearns. He's a puppet. He came out as a spokesperson, as an ad salesman to your product. And now you're going to fire him because of whatever ownership or whoever executive said, "Hey, look, we need to make changes because this ain't working. He's not the right guy." No. How about you make the right and better decisions? Don't get a Freddie Peralta who is a 5 inning pitcher at best, and as you guys know now, is just horrible at his job.
Yeah.
You know, don't keep running out Kodai Senga. You had the power to get rid of him. Get rid of
Shout
him.
out He-Man.
Yeah.
Look, Dan just made a couple of very solid points. And as an analyst, Dan does remarkable work. Kodai Senga was moved to the bullpen.
That's
I
not enough.
agree with it. I agree with Dan, is that I would have given him his outright release.
You know?
I'm sorry. When he first came, I had a reason to be excited. As everybody knows here, I am the sport card collector. I had everything. I just dumped it all about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I understand, you know, we need pitching. We need pitching. We need pitching. Kodai Senga isn't even good for 1 inning. He is lost. He's got a bad case of the yips that have carried on for 2+ years. You should have just released him. Send him back down, let him stay down there, and then release him. Whatever. I know you don't want to pay a guy $12 million to play AAA baseball. I understand that. That's the business aspect.
You are who you are at some point, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
Like David Stearns is, and look, he did such great things in Milwaukee. Okay, well, if that's the case, then him leaving Milwaukee should have set them back years. Well, they haven't skipped a beat. And he comes to New York, has been a disaster. Like
I
you are
mean,
who you are at some point, right?
I understand when he made the trade for Freddie Peralta, I was excited. I was kind of upset with the losing of Brandon Sproat.
Hey,
I like look, I know he has not had a good year this year. He had not,
we all said that.
yeah,
We all,
he
yeah.
he did not have a spectacular year. Last year he was a rookie, but he has talent and he will be a decent pitcher, whether it's next year or 5 or 3 years from now. He's a young kid. Jet Williams wasn't ready. And Mike, even you'll agree, you got to be glad they gave Jet Williams over AJ Ewing.
Yeah.
Look, and forget like Jet Williams, shortstop was blocked off because Lindor. To Dan's point, look, the thing that annoys me the most about David Stearns is he has this smug, arrogant look, like he's the smartest dude in the room every time he talks. Brother, you've got the third worst record in the National League. The two teams with the worst record are the Giants and the Rockies. Let me repeat that. The only teams with the worst record in the National League are the Giants and the Rockies.
Did not realize the Giants were that. I knew the Giants were bad. I didn't realize they were that bad. Oh wow.
They're
This
going
is
on
the
hard times.
Yeah,
look.
I mean, no, no. I'm sorry. I apologize, and as an analyst, I should have known that.
Look,
Wow.
you want to use the injuries excuse with Lindor or Soto? Okay. But Mark and Dan are right. Kodai Senga hadn't been the same guy since he pulled his hamstring last year, or strained, whatever it was. But the one thing that's unforgivable, I'll even give you the Freddie Peralta pass because of this reason.
Yeah.
New York's not meant for everybody, and Freddie
Mhm.
Peralta kind of seems to prove that.
Freddie Peralta was okay in other places, you know.
The one thing that is unforgivable, and this is the one that should bug every Met fan more than anything. And I hope in 3 months, when the guy comes, he bashes the Met pitching staff. The way you treat a franchise icon, and I'm using that word, that I word, in Pete Alonso, the Met all-time leader in home runs, the Met who, I'll be honest with you, probably the most popular Met, and you don't want to make the dude. I apologize, I'm about to curse, you don't make the guy a fucking offer. What are we doing? I don't care that you don't want to give him 5 years. I really couldn't care less that you don't. You extend that off bridge because you show the fan base that you do understand what it's like. You don't know.
Yeah, no,
You can tell. You can
he didn't
tell
want
me you
it.
grew up a Met fan. I don't care. Take your analytics, turn them sideways, and to quote, and Patchy, if you're listening, to quote The Rock, stuff them straight up your candy ass. You have to have heart. You have to have a gut feel. Everything cannot be analytics, analytics, analytics. Dan, you go through that with Aaron Boone. Analytics, great. They're great for certain things. They're great. You can't run a team just based on analytics. You
No,
can't do it.
Mike said it perfectly. Analytics do play a part of the game, but you can't rely on it mostly. Edwin Diaz going fine, but things turned out, karma happens. I'm not unhappy with the Brandon Nimmo trade. It hasn't worked out, but I wasn't unhappy with it. I
Yep.
understood it. Pete Alonso should be standing on first base. I don't care if you over overpaid him.
Yeah. Does it bother you when you have Devin Williams on the mound in a game that you're gonna
Need
lose,
no.
and you have fans chanting Pete Alonso's name while he's on the mound? You talk about the worst of the worst karma. I mean, that has to hurt, bro. Like,
The the only reason I was excited for Devin Williams to become a Met was my original thought, and I know Mike was with me on it, was Devin Williams was going to set up Edwin Diaz.
Yep.
And that, come on, Dan, even you would even say that's a killer 8-9.
oh, yeah, I mean, Devin Williams when he's on his game, which he isn't,
Right.
and probably will never be. His psyche is it's
Who
over.
destroyed
It's
his
gone.
psyche, dude? Who destroyed it?
The
Pete Alonso.
fans chanted
It
his
all comes
name.
full in circle.
Like,
Right.
does it bother you that his name's being chanted while Devin Williams is on the mound?
Listen, can I be honest with you? While I was sitting on my couch, I joined in the Pete Alonso shit.
I
I
did not
did.
join. I did not join in, but I will be honest. I was wearing my Alonso jersey last night.
Like, God, like if I'm Devin Williams, like that pissed me fuck off. Excuse my language there. You
No,
know,
it's finally
But it's not a
happened to
shot.
anybody.
it's not, but come on now.
Oh, I get it. Listen, I understand what you're saying, but listen, there's also a Fire Stearns chant going.
Fair enough.
Like,
It has finally happened on the network. Myself and Mike cursed before Dan let out a curse.
Yeah.
There should have been a prop bet. Who's dropping the F bomb first? It was me, and it was I mean, I would have had the highest odds. You all would have won.
God damn.
uh,
Sorry.
No,
Uh,
no, no.
A little bit of
We
sports. Betting.
we've used this as venting.
yeah,
Yes. No. Look,
putting a bow on this convo.
firing
Go for it,
Mendoza is
Dan.
not going to change the Mets. I'm
No, it's
sorry.
not. One right move by David Stearns. I'm not counting the Soto because that was Cohen. One move that worked out. Now it's Clay Holmes.
Yeah,
Fair enough. And then unfortunately, obviously, the injury to him, he's not even begun.
he threw the other day.
Oh, he did. Okay. So
He
I
threw
got my
he
mistake
threw
there.
in the outfield at City Field.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now he is on a small throwing
Actually,
program. They still don't believe he'll be back until August anyway.
yeah,
At
probably.
this point, I let him if he even comes back and the Mets are way out of it, I wouldn't
I'll
overuse.
take
I
the
would let him
call.
pitch one. I pitch one. Let him pitch one game. Come in a relief thing. I don't want to risk re-injuring him going into next year. They're going to need him. Right now, if you look at it, Clay Holmes is the ace of this team.
Yes.
You just said Clay Holmes is an ace of a team. I want you to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Because originally my mind was set that Freddie Peralta, the guy who was absolutely amazing in Milwaukee, everybody who comes to New York dies.
All right. So yeah,
Jason Bay, very good example of this.
I will never forgive Jerry Manuel for benching Jason Bay on Jason Bay bobblehead day.
That was the funniest moment ever.
Never forgive you, Jerry.
God damn.
Mets did beat the Braves that day, though. I'll give you that.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. On to All-Star Game news because the second phase of fan voting will begin tomorrow. So what happens is they've knocked it down to about 2 players at each position, and obviously you vote for the starters because fan voting matters so much. But 2 guys we know who will be in the All-Star game. Shohei Ohtani will be the starting DH for the National League, and the starting second baseman in the American League, Ernie Clement of the
Mhm.
Toronto Blue Jays. So shout out to you, Ernie. But anyway, here are the finalists. We'll start with the National League. At first, you're going to hear a lot of the same teams on here. You got Freddie Freeman versus Matt Olson at first base. So Braves, Dodgers. Dodgers, Braves, because Freddie, Dodger. Second baseman's Ozzie Albies or Bryson Stott.
Bryson Stott's had a nice year.
Starting second baseman for the All-Star game. Shortstop, Mookie Betts or CJ Abrams. Mookie Betts has been hurt most of the first half. I know,
That's what I was about to say, sir.
but man. Third base, Max Muncy or Alec Boehm. Really had that good year. Catcher will be Drake Baldwin or Will Smith. And then the outfield is Andy Pajes, Brandon Marsh, Ronald Acuna, who probably won't play, Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, and Michael Harris. Those are your National League finalists. The American League, first base, Dan's guy Ben Rice
Absolutely.
or Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
See, that's not fair to Ben Rice.
But I mean, Vladdy's dropping his shoulder a lot.
Well, he only has 5 home runs on the year. So.
That struggle is going to ultimately propel Mr. Aros himself to get in this All-Star spot. Like, let's go.
Ben Rice, what a year.
Like I mentioned, Ernie Clement will be second base. Shortstop will be Bobby Witt if he can play. He's hurt. Or Andres Jimenez.
Shout out the ex-Met.
Met legend. Third base will be Kazuma Okamoto or Junior Caminero.
I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to go to Caminero.
Caminero's had a hell of a year. 2 homers the other night.
Yeah.
Catcher will be Shea Langoliers or Alejandro Kirk. Langoliers has had a great year, too, for the A's.
Yeah.
DH between 2 of Bill Murphy's favorite players. Jordan Alvarez or George Springer?
It's gotta go to Jordan. I mean, not to take away, Springer's had a good year also, but
Yeah, Jordan right now is up there in AL MVP voting. So, and then the outfield would be Aaron Judge again. Probably won't play. Mike Trout probably won't play.
well,
Then you
Mike
got
Trout just went on the IL.
Byron Buxton, Cody Bellinger, Dalton Varsho, and Jesus Sanchez. A lot of Blue Jays. A lot of Blue Jays, Braves, Dodgers, and Phillies.
Yeah.
This is why I don't love fan voting, but again, it is what it is.
And as of right now, we have not heard, considering we know the new rules of the home run derby, we have not heard about any participants, and I just looked it up. There isn't one yet. I'm sure within the next week or so they will
There,
start.
there was a gentleman interested, but he will not participate. His name is Mike Trout.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the new format, I wouldn't be surprised to
Yeah,
see players who have been there before. Pete Alonso might come back and do it again, you know, with Acuna, possibly, maybe not now. But I want to see guys who are not 30 home run hitters.
you
I
know what?
want to see challenge. I want to see guys who are 9 home runs a year.
You know what? Next week, here's a little thing called the tease. Next week, make your own home run derby.
Oh, that could be fun.
Uh,
Am I
New York.
allowed to be in it?
You know what? We'll do two. Use one for current players. Use one for all time players.
Oh, now we talking.
Yeah. All right. On to some series to talk about for the week. We got the White Sox and the Orioles. Orioles starting to play better, getting alive. And the what? How about the White Sox? Nobody saw this coming from the White Sox.
43 and 36.
Dude, they
Shout
beat
out
the,
Murakami, who is leading the way in Bowman Chrome rookie cards. And to get him in a spot, to buy him in a player break, $650 just for a chance to get his rookie cards.
how about this? They beat the Royals 22-1 on Friday night.
Mhm.
I've seen a few 20-run games in my lifetime. I never expected to ever see it out of the White Sox.
We got the Battle of Pennsylvania, the Pirates and the Phillies.
That should be in it. Well, Skeens just pitched, so they'll miss Skeens.
Skeens in 17 starts this year already has 4 games giving up 4 runs or more.
Well, it happens.
Yeah. Pirates alive in the wild card. Phillies charging the Braves a little because the Braves have struggled. So, speaking of the Braves, they'll host the Cardinals. We got Reds, Brewers, Padres, Cubs, and then Dodgers, A's in a rematch of the '88 World Series. Somewhere Kirk Gibson is smiling and Dennis Eckersley is not. And then next weekend, Cardinals, Cubs, Orioles, Reds, White Sox, Guardians, first place in the Central, Rays, Astro in a matchup of Bill Murphy's favorite teams, Brewers, D-backs, Padres, Dodgers, and then Blue Jays, Mariners in ALCS rematch.
That Chicago St. Louis series is going to be a fun series.
One of the best rivalries in baseball.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line, like the fact that we're talking about the Cardinals. I know they've been iffy of late, but in fact, we're talking about the Cardinals and well in the thick of the National League. Oh boy, that rivalry is going to go up the ante, as well as White Sox Guardians, because the White Sox have been unbelievable to watch.
I mean, It's kind of funny when we were talking about prop bets. I don't know what they were before the season, but if I only knew what I knew now about the White Sox, I could make some money. It's time
Yeah,
to get my
all of us.
DeLorean and pull a Biff moment.
Yeah.
So MLB Twitter just put this out. If the 2026 postseason started today, here are your matchups. The two buys in the American League would go to the Rays and the White Sox.
Mm.
So your wild card series would be the Mariners and the Rangers, and the Guardians and the Yankees.
Again, if I was the Yankees, that would be the one team I wouldn't want to face.
Yeah.
I don't know. Aaron Boone's an AL Central merchant in the playoffs.
Mm.
Yeah, but when he
Also,
comes
no
back,
Jose Ramirez right now. So
right? I said when Jose Ramirez come back,
Yeah.
anytime he's in a lineup, scariest player on the Guardians.
And then in the National League, obviously the Brewers and the Dodgers would get the buys. Braves Padres would be a wild card.
Braves would walk all over it.
And Cubs Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's a matchup.
That would be fun.
I mean, mind you, we're not talking about my favorite team here, but PCA, otherwise known as Pete Crow Armstrong, has been on a tear like none other, and he has said thank you to the woman who got him fined multiple times for giving him the vigor and hatred to go out and just murder the ball every time. And wow, the Mets gave up a lot to get him. I mean, the Mets gave him up to get a lot.
6 weeks of Javi Baez.
Yep.
As Keith Hernandez said on a broadcast, maybe the worst trade in Mets history.
Yep.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of the Batter Up Podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the network. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Dan and Bill are live tomorrow morning with SIP.
Yeah, we will also have a Bombers banter talking about the dumb keys and their shitty ass series in Fenway.
I'll be doing a live session either Wednesday night or Thursday on NHL free agency beginning. So look forward to that. And listen to the podcast where you get your podcasts. Mark, anything on the dugout?
Yeah, we will be finishing up Troy's podcast, Troy's Baseball Adventures, and then the great Patchman and I will be putting together the interviews for little kids that we did, and we're going to get it set up. That Troy's team, we did a little bit of interviews, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with permission from all the parents. So we have a little bit of fun. We're going to have a kid interview day here on the network.
Yeah.
And it's all clean. The kids are really funny too.
Yep, but kids say the darndest things. It's great.
Yes.
You know?
Go to the website, sportscitynetwork.com for great blogs. Follow the socials. Twitter, Insanity Real, Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network. For Dan, Mark, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you all next week here on Batter Up. Sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the network. Remember, thoughts and prayers with people in Venezuela.
Yeah. Peace and love, everybody. And be kind to each other.
Catch you on the flip side this week.